right. That should be just about everyone. Um, so again, so welcome for all of you who are here. Thank you for taking the time out to spend with your evening, afternoon, morning, even wherever you are joining us in the world. My name is Rayanna Campbell. I am an online student advocate for you online, one of the many resources that is available to you as a student in Frost Online every step of the way. I'm also going to be joined by my co-host, Andrea Jimenez, who is the program director for Frost Online. She's also one of the many resources that are available to you, and you will be able to meet her in a second for her to introduce herself. But before we do that, I do have a few housekeeping items that I want to go over. So this session is going to be about 45 minutes or so in length, so get comfortable. If you miss something for any reason, we will have a recording that will be sent to you after the conclusion of this session. We also have enrollment advisors who are available via chat, online, or available to speak with you if you have any questions at all. Even if you think of them outside of the session, we are happy to get them answered for you. You can also use the Q&A feature in the chat to ask us questions during the session. We'll be happy to both answer them live and some in the chat as well. And then I'm going to kick things off to Andrea.
Thank you, Rayanna. I appreciate you being here and helping us out as always. You're amazing. Hello, everybody. It is a pleasure to meet you. My name is Andrea Jimenez. As Rayanna graciously put it, I support you. That's my role here. And I do so with the immense support that we have with our online team, which Rayanna is a part of. In our panel, we have here some really, really great folks that make a tremendous impact when it pertains to our media scoring and production programs, amongst other things here at the Frost School of Music within the University of Miami. And I am going to let them introduce themselves, and then we will go straight into Q&A as soon as we get through them. So without further ado, Camilo, can I please kick it to you?
Absolutely. Yes, so I am Camilo Rodriguez. I am the program director for media scoring and production. I am mainly a music producer, although, because we are kind of in the middle of both, I do have quite a bit of experience with movies, working with orchestra and recording orchestra. I am mainly in the production and mixing side. I've worked with a lot of Colombian artists. We've won a bunch of awards, and we've actually made music for Carnaval and even had some major events. So it's been lovely, and my time here has been absolutely amazing because we get to record in all these really nice studios. We have all these orchestras that are available to us. So it's been a lovely experience. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Camilo. Polly, can I pass it over to you?
Yeah, of course, of course. So my name is Pauli Germán. I'm actually the newest addition to the program. I graduated, I would say, very recently from the same program in 2021. And yeah, I've been given like this opportunity to be able to interact with very talented students from all around the world, which is crazy to me. I am also, I came to the US as an international student from the Dominican Republic. So I connect a lot, with that community in particular. But yeah, mainly I am a producer. I've worked a lot with contemporary Christian artists. I am also currently the music director for a church here in Hollywood. And yeah, in the last few years, that's what I've been doing the most on top of my, education duties. And yeah, I'm very excited to join you guys and have this conversation and get to know potential candidates for our program.
Thank you, Pauli. And last but certainly not least, Carlos, take us there, please.
Hi, how are you? And welcome. And thank you so much for your interest in the Frost School. My name is Carlos Rivera. I'm a composer. I write music for media, which television, films, or whatever. And it's been something that I've been doing for the last, let's say, 10 years. And I've had some good fortune in it. But I've been really an educator most of my life. Since I could actually play guitar, I was going to people's houses and teaching them guitar. So teaching is like my main thing. And it's my day job that I love. And I get to work with these amazing people, Camilo Rodriguez and Pauli Germán, also Randy Barlow, who's part of our faculty as well in the cohort. And and collaborate with Andrea on putting something together that would serve you as an online student interested in the program. So it's a real thrill to be here. So thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate those introductions. So let's jump straight into our curriculum, our courses, what we have here to offer as part of our program. As we all know, we have our 2 major courses that absolutely need to be taken. And then we have 5 other courses that our students can take in either media scoring or the music production emphasis, but they can do a mix, which we want to get clear on. And then we have 3 electives that they're able to take, approved by our MSP advisors. So let's start. Camilo, can we start with you? Let's talk about the curriculum. Let's talk about what's available for our students. And then we will ping pong it off each other to Carlos in media scoring, Polly in your MIDI course, which is fantastic. Go ahead, Camilo. Let's talk curriculum and courses.
Awesome. So we basically have a big group of classes that are like the MSP core classes that everybody needs to take. And the beauty of it and the unique thing about it is that you don't have to take a specific order of courses or even a set group of courses. You can mix and match to whatever your skills require most. And depending on what you're trying to do, it's a great idea to come in with a plan, right? Like I'm trying to get better at this, or I'm trying to find a job doing that, or I'm trying to get into this industry, right? And when you make those decisions ahead of time, then the bucket of classes that we have become basically the exact tools that you need for whatever you are looking for in your future. So we have 2 main categories, which are like the media scoring classes, and then we have the music production classes. And the reason we have them tied together or kind of in the same degree is that, you know, now more than ever, being a film composer has a lot of production elements tied to it. You have to be good with Logic or, you know, Pro Tools or Digital Performer or, you know, whatever you use. And then you need to understand all of the routing and the studio setup and all the stuff that typically are more associated with production. They're still very big on you know, media scoring, but they're still part of that overlap. So we have a couple of classes in the media scoring side. I'll let Carlos and Polly talk about the media scoring ones, but I want to talk about virtual orchestration and I want to talk about video game scoring, which are truly the middle ground between both of those skill sets. Because media scoring, when it comes to writing in video games, it's as much production as it is media scoring. You'll see people, you know, recording drums, guitars, doing synths, mixing, all that stuff that ties into production, but it's still media scoring, right? And then virtual orchestration, the way we focus it is, you know, dealing with MIDI to make orchestral mock-ups so they can sound really, really good and sound as real as possible if that's your goal. But at the end of the day, the core of it is still talking about MIDI, which is a big overlap when it comes to music production, because sampling and MIDI and all that stuff, if you understand it with the virtual orchestration class, it jumps over to production really, really well. And Pauli also has a class that I'm sure he's going to talk about that kind of runs into that. So the classes I teach mainly are like the recording, music production, and mixing classes. So I'm heavy on the production side, whereas Pauli is somewhere in the middle, I believe, right? And Carlos is more on the media scoring side for sure.
That's correct.
So do we want to like go into any specific classes, or do we want Pauli to kind of give his overview, or what do we want to do?
Thank you for that, Camilo. Thank you, because you really did go there, so we appreciate it. Pauli, please, yes, take us there. Let's talk MIDI. Let's talk all the other, the media scoring, as Camilo mentioned. And then Carlos, we'll kick it to you.
Yeah, so as Camilo was saying, I'm basically in the middle, and in a way, I liked that a lot. So you know, I'm not necessarily very strong in the media scoring side in terms of like getting gigs and, you know, composing for short films all the time, but I do understand it to a point that I can teach it very well, and or at least that's been, you know, the feedback from my students and my colleagues. But yeah, I also have, you know, a few of the production classes, and one of those is digital audio and MIDI production. And actually, with my colleague Randy, which is, you know, like he's not here with us, we actually co-authored the online course that is part of the online master. So we did that together. And something that I wanted to mention about that is that what students get to experience in the online master's program is actually a mirror of what we're doing on campus. It's not like someone is missing out, or like we don't get to, experience with the same kind of high profile guest artists that we bring to class, etc., or like getting the same knowledge, etc. We actually try as much as possible to have a mirror of what's happening on campus. But yeah, in that class, digital audio media production, a lot of producers and composers come into interaction with MIDI and DAWs, but they're not really very, what's the word? Versed in terms of what is it that's happening behind that screen, right? Like, what is it that's happening with sound? How do we get sound from, our acoustic domain all the way to the DAW? So in that class, that's what we cover. We talk about signal flow, we talk about sampling, we talk about, sample rate, the physics of sound, etc. And eventually we end up, talking about MIDI and kind of putting a few projects together in which the students get to produce like pop music specifically. I'm gonna let Carlos talk about media scoring too, but even though I do teach the two classes, I'm just gonna focus on media scoring 1. So media scoring 1, and that's again what's happening in the online master, is for the students to have a first contact with writing music to picture, right? And even though media scoring and writing music to picture involves a lot, the program has been designed in a way that we're kind of introducing you to it, but we're at the same time, we don't want to overwhelm you, right? So we're kind of letting the hard tasks to be in media scoring 2. But again, media scoring 1 is basically about understanding story, understanding what the director wants, understanding how to sync our music to a specific frame in the picture, especially when we want to emphasize or hit a specific point in the scene. And that's what we focus on mainly, trying to match the mood of the scene. Believe it or not, a lot of composers, a lot of producers, they can write music and they can write great music, but the ability to match tone, I think that's a muscle that needs to be exercised. And that's what happens in that first class of media scoring 2. I also teach, other classes like recording ensemble, in which we get to, collaborate with artists, producers, and musicians. And we just, for me, that particular class is like the closer to reality in terms of having people collaborating together and going to the studio and making a record, right? I also teach virtual orchestration, as Camilo was saying, and yeah, a few other classes. So now I'm just gonna pass it to Carlos. I don't know if you want to talk about media scoring too.
Well, I did want to talk about a little bit about the general idea of what this
Yes.
curriculum was. This curriculum we put together over the course of a few years. It was sort of revamped from where we were maybe in 2015. So like almost 10 years ago, we started really looking at this as a pragmatic vocational approach, meaning that we wanted to reflect what was going on in the real world within our world. And more importantly, we really wanted to make sure that what we had were really good course material that would, no matter who taught it, because I heard Pauli mention, I may not do this, but I understand. Pauli's phenomenal. Let's just get that out of the way. But I did want to say that the material was built to be taught really to make the content amazing. It's not who you're studying with. It's not whether you're taking courses with me or you're taking courses with Camilo or Pauli or Randy or whoever it is or Simone, who teaches the virtual aspect of one of our sections. It's the fact that you're going to actually get material that we think is really relevant and the reason why you go to school. When I was a student, I remember hearing, and when I started even teaching, it was like, oh, they want to study with this teacher. That's cool. But that's not what this is about. This is about you. And it is about you getting better at your craft. So we wanted to create content for you that would be like malleable and something that could benefit you. And we really kind of came up with a curriculum that would be helpful to really for you to pick and choose what would best suit you as you're figuring this out within our program. So that's the one thing. media scoring, really, I'll speak a little bit about media scoring too, which is the second course, is actually about putting into practice all the stuff we learned in media scoring 1. And understanding story is everything in media scoring 1. And I think a lot of people that take it, they're like, hey, I kind of want to do this. They'll find out pretty quickly whether they want to take media scoring 2 or not, because media scoring 1 can be suddenly very challenging and very unexpectedly difficult. Because like Pauli said, it's not about writing good music or being good at producing. It's about getting the tone and matching the image and the storytelling and understanding that. What media scoring 2 does is puts it more into practice. We really look at notation, creating score and parts, getting recorded by the orchestra, we collaborate with the Mancini Institute that we happen to have here at the Frost School, which is an amazing group of musicians. You can Google them and look it up as well if you like. But we really want to give and provide, if I want to summarize it, because I haven't stopped talking and I'm getting annoyed at my own voice right now. Think about media scoring 1 as being like the learning how to make, and media scoring 2 is the implementation of the thing you make. So let's say we already assume by media scoring 2 that you can tell story and understand how that works. It's creating the score and parts, understanding the Pro Tools session, all the technical stuff that is very demanding. That is like 80% of the job compared to the 20%, which is the writing. So anyways, I'll stop talking for now.
Thank you for that, Carlos. As everyone can see, we have a bunch of people here that support this program that are just, I mean, there's such a humility here that people out there would think, oh, for sure, that's not happening. It is. They are grounded in their work and they're trying to intentionally get better. And Carlos, you hit on a point that I was actually going to jump into now. So I appreciate it. And we essentially back, what was it? I don't know how many years ago, but we changed the curriculum, right? We made it better. We made it more in tune with what's going on in the industry and just truly how it is ever evolving and changing. And that's necessary in academia. We all agree on that. And our media scoring and production program, whether it be at the undergraduate level or in this case at the graduate level, we're adapting and we're growing, and we're also learning from our students as we do it, especially both our on-campus and our online students. But you hit a great point, Carlos, and that's where I'm going to. The industry right now and how it's changing, and essentially like what we are imparting into our students is very intentional because it is very much grounded in that. So can we talk a bit about our students needing to master certain deep principles, right? Deep principles that they can actually take with them to be able to technically apply in the industry because of how it just changes and grows every single day. And there's new roles that pop up every 5 seconds in the music industry world, specifically media scoring and music production, especially its pathway in the digital and tech world. So can we speak a little bit about how it's changing? We adapted our curriculum and we're only adapting it every chance we get, right? Because we got to keep up with the trends and we want our students to get that from us while they're with us. Can I kick it to you, Carlos, since you think you talk too much? I haven't heard that much. So can I kick it to you and then I'll kick it to everybody else?
Sure. I mean, I do think that we're constantly out and about meeting with other faculty from other programs too, and other universities. That's one of the most important things. Like, you may think there's a big competition going on and finding students, and I don't see it as a competition. I see it as making the best fit possible that will or not work for you. And so we share best practices. I was just in Europe and I met with Ron Sadoff, who's in charge of NYU, and we were talking about our scoring program. I speak with Kubilay Uner as well at he's in Chicago as well, in Columbia, and we're friends. I mean, this is sort of one of the things that matters, is sort of that we know that there are students who want to learn something. We want to be out there trying to figure out what the best practices are to be able to serve you. So I just really wanted to kind of bring that up as well, because sometimes they're like, well, maybe you don't want to go to that school because, I don't care. I care that you go to where you want to be. And that's going to make you happy, and that's going to serve us better, because we do want students that want to be here, that want to be part of the community, that want to grow and feel that this is going to be the best fit. So maybe I'm speaking a little bit too much on the bigger side of it, but as far as the industry and the trends, we're right now, all of us are practicing the work. It's not like we did this 10 years ago and we have good stories, that we went into back in my day, I used to, I don't, there's none of that. It's sort of like today, I got a text from a director that was like not happy with something I did, and trying to figure out how that happens. The idea is to share those mistakes and maybe something I could have done better with the student now. So that's sort of the general principle I think we all live by as faculty here.
Something that I was thinking about, first of all, let me just talk about the big picture as well. I remember when I was applying to this program, like 2018, something like that. I've set foot on many on other schools around the country. And when I saw this program, it was called literally media scoring and production. I was like, wait, this is the first time I'm seeing a university, a school, in this case, the first school, trying to put together media scoring, which is normally offered separately, with production. And in my mind, I was like, it just makes sense because back in the day, okay, maybe you could be a composer and you would be like, your eyes would be tied to paper and pencil and you would be on top of a piano, but like times have changed, right? So now a composer needs to know about the AWS, needs to know about production, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's what Carlos and Camilo were sharing as well. But something else that I was thinking about, and I think it applies so well with this online master's program, and it's the fact that the industry today is just working remotely. Right now I am an instructor for the digital audio media production course online, so I get to interact with the students every now and then, and the things that they are going through in terms of, okay, I was trying to install Pro Tools, but now I'm running into this problem, and now I have to call Avid for support, or now I'm going to have to email another student, or professor, can we meet and try to troubleshoot this together? Believe it or not, that's what you're gonna do in real life, trying to resolve things that are like technical in a way, but at the same time having the resilience to go through it, right? And I think something that we try to teach a lot in our schools is like, yes, the music is important. Knowing your skills, knowing your course is important, but the work ethic, the resilience, the responsibility, the professionalism to deliver, I think plays such a huge role in you making it in this industry. Something that we have mirrored in both programs is like the requirement of meeting deadlines, submitting projects with the right naming convention, following instructions in terms of the projects. And I think being able to do that just builds in you like a muscle for productivity, in general terms. And again, that's the reality. The industry is already working remote. Like you can talk to Camilo, you can talk to Carlos. Like, I don't know, Carlos, when was your last, I don't know, orchestra recording session? Like you were at home and the orchestra was in Budapest, you see, and you still need to collaborate. So the fact that someone would sign up for an online master program, they are already practicing what they're gonna be doing in a few years from today. So
one more thing. So there's like this overarching tone or idea that we have in a lot of our classes, and we cover like two main things, right? The first one is we deal a lot with feedback, and that's huge. You have to turn stuff in on time just to work that muscle of submitting stuff on time. And then you have to work the muscle of your stuff getting rejected. So you're going to submit stuff, and Pauli, again, he has an incredible ear. You're going to submit to his class thinking he's going to miss that little thing that, he's going to hear it and he's going to bounce it back, and he's going to tell you need to redo this, right? And that is part of the muscle that we have to work on, which is that, you got to resubmit, you got to fix, you got to iterate, you got to change. The director didn't like this, director didn't like that. We got to move here. The 8-year-old daughter of the cousin of the guy that was in the session said this, so now the director doesn't like it. You got to deal with that stuff. Right. And that like resilience that Polly was talking about, you really do get it from like a lot of feedback, just constant feedback and how you deal with it. And then the other big like through line, so to speak, is troubleshooting. like having the problem solving attitude of being able to fix things, even if it's a brand new problem, right? One thing like I will talk about in classes is there's book learning, like the stuff that you learn in school, and that is incredibly important and valuable. But then there's learning that you do on your own, like experiential learning, and it's learning that you do for like humanity, like for everyone. Like when you solve a problem that didn't exist, didn't have a solution before, and like Pro Tools, because Pro Tools being super weird, and you figure out this random thing, and then you share it with you're like learning, not just for yourself, but like on behalf of like humanity and like at least the media scoring community. So that part is really what is the keeping up with the trends thing, is having an eye out for them, realizing new things are changing or new things are disrupting the industry or new things are doing all these crazy stuff. And then you have to put on that troubleshooting hat and that problem solving hat. And like, how do I change? How do I move? Because things move so fast. Doctors, when they go to school, by the time they graduate, half of the stuff they learned is obsolete. So we're not quite at that point, but it does move pretty fast. So something that we want to make sure everybody walks out with is that troubleshooting, problem solving mentality, because it really does help you in the future and for the rest of your life, and not even just in music, and basically everything you do.
Camilo, thank you so much for that. I was actually going to bring up that project part, that how it's very project-based, our program, but the feedback is just, it's living and breathing in all of our courses, because it's so critical to learn that skill as we're collaborating with our be it colleagues in the industry. We're practicing that actively in this program through the assignments that students are getting in every single course. Projects and feedback, and if we don't get feedback, how do we get better? So I love that each of you tied things together. And by the way, team, Paulie did have to step out, but he was such a great addition. He is a new dad, and he had to go tend to the family. So we're very family oriented here, as you can see, but I'm glad he was able to join us. With that, I'm just seeing now, thank you, everybody. We have so many questions in the Q&A, and I appreciate that so much. So I believe we touch upon a couple, but I'm gonna bounce these off of both of you, Camilo and Carlos, and let's just try to get through as many as we can. So first one, any focus on sound design? And I'm not sure if you talked about that a bit, Camilo. Go ahead. And Carlos.
So we have a course called synthestration, which is anything and everything synth related. And if you're talking about specifically sound design for music, that course covers literally anything that is related to sound design when it comes to synths. There are other courses if you're thinking more sound design for movies. There are some sound design courses that you could take with that, it's an important skill related to film, especially if you're going to do media scoring, to understand how the sound team works and how the mixing works, because your music can be a big influence in how stuff gets mixed or worked on. But yeah, is there like a specific type of sound design you were talking about, or is it like the musical kind, or?
So we had the question from Dane Mark, and they're like, any emphasis on sound design? So let's throw it out there. So that's if that's what it is. Carlos, did you have any remarks or?
No, I just follow what Camilo said. Synthestration deals with creating sounds and but basically through synthesis. But sound design, like Foley and doing back BGs and background sounds and creating all that world. We don't have that in our program specifically, but I believe those courses are available. So that you would have to, but yeah, no, that's actually really, really cool. I did see a question that somebody was asking. I thought, Camilo, you could answer, what kind of equipment will we need for these courses?
Sure. So I would recommend at the bare minimum, a capable laptop, a decent interface, and some headphones. Like for hardware. Those are like the bare minimum requirements for hardware. And then for software, you're probably going to need a DAW. And if you're using Logic, it comes pretty well equipped with, plugins. But if you're like on Pro Tools or some other DAWs that don't have great plugins, you're probably going to need some sort of virtual instruments or something like that. And when it comes to like orchestration, like virtual orchestration, to actually make the best sounding or most realistic sounding mock-ups, I'd recommend getting some libraries. The good news is you don't have to buy them outright anymore. So you can, for example, get a 1 month subscription to, many of the sample libraries that are out there, and then you have access to them for either projects or for a class or for whatever it is. And then you can do it for like, 1 or 2 months, print it, and then you're good to go. That being said, there are a whole bunch of options we use. For example, in our computers at Frost, we have Cinesamples, we have Spitfire libraries, we have I think Symphobia. We have Native Instruments, the Ultimate Native. What is it called? It's just Ultimate, right? Ultimate, Complete Ultimate. Yeah, that's
Complete. Yeah,
yeah.
complete.
So, something in those lines would probably be very, very useful for your stuff. If you don't have like good enough samples, that's the next step.
One thing, just to jump in on this, like I came from the place of I couldn't afford a library, and anything from Spitfire audio was like the holy grail of financial investment. And so my real immediate answer is to pick one that you're interested in. If you can invest in one, just spend time on the one. Don't just, some of you may have like all kinds of money and can just do that. That's fine. But I come from a different background where it was like, okay, what can I do with what I have? And even my first project was all done with Logic with no extra libraries, just what came with Logic. And that kind of thing really speaks to a process, which is this is a craft and it just requires a lot of hours. Getting a really good library doesn't mean you're going to make a really good piece of music. It just means you're going to have a good library, and it's up to you to make it work. And that really is just about an investment in time. And regarding a PC or Mac, I just saw a question, Jessica, that I came up with. Or Dia, I'm so sorry if I'm spelling or mispronouncing your name. Would PC or Mac be better for this course? I don't think it matters. There's people who use Mac and they use Cubase for PC, and I'm a Logic person, but Pro Tools is really kind of where everything ends up in, especially in media scoring. So Pro Tools is definitely part of the curriculum and the required software to use. It doesn't matter if you write, let's say, in another DAW, like in Logic or whatever you want, Cubase, it doesn't matter. But the deliverables do have to usually, especially for our media scoring one, have to be submitted in Pro Tools. I am pretty bad at Pro Tools. So why are we teaching it? It sounds like, why are we teaching Pro Tools? Because it's really important for you to learn to speak the language of the people you're going to be interacting with. And since all the work you do ends up in a Pro Tools session, when it's getting mixed to sound and to the picture, it really behooves you to kind of get facile at it. As a matter of fact, if you walk away with anything, is that it's your task to become Dawson. And what I mean, so it's the cheesiest joke, but it means you're awesome at any DAW, that you can work with Logic, Cubase, Pro Tools, able to whatever kind of, because it'll make you a more productive person. It'll also make you a better asset and give you more opportunities for if you were to work with someone or eventually assist someone. They're like, do you know Logic? You're like, no, I don't do Logic. Well, you're not working with that person. Do you know Pro Tools? Nah, I hate Pro Tools. Well, you don't know that. But if they're like, do you work with Pro Tools? You're like, yeah, I can do Pro Tools. I can do Cubase. Oh, really? I was thinking of getting into Cubase. Well, I can teach you. Then suddenly you become an asset to somebody. So at this stage, I really think it's really important to look at all the DAWs and kind of spend time learning them. Okay, that's a long answer. Sorry, Andrea.
No, that was awesome. And you left me with Dawson. I'm
Dawson.
that's not going anywhere. And it's an inside thing, or not really. It's a thing with everyone now in the audience. If you come here, Dawson is going to be our thing. Rihanna, you're part of that online. Like, I'm not letting that go. So I love that so much.
All right. Not Doffel.
No, not
Doffel. Dawson.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love this. You see, like, this is really what it's about, right? You're getting an education, but we're going to have fun doing it. I mean, I think everybody should experience something like that. Couple more questions, and then we'll definitely leave it there, because I know we're cutting on time. I did have a question from Jessica regarding I work on the composition side. So my question is, would I need to have taken production recording classes prior to this program? Oh, that's a great question. If we can anyone tie that up?
I can answer this. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to have taken them. We don't expect you to have taken them, but we expect to see like some level of proficiency when it comes to like submitting and using a DAW and that's part of your application, right? So not necessarily having taken a full course or having credentials for it, but we do expect to see like the proof is in the pudding type of thing. Like the music you submit, if it's great, amazing. We don't like, I'm not going to ask for a certificate of recording if the music that you make is already sounding good, right?
Thank you for that, Camilo. And then last one here from Michael Cook. Thank you, Michael, for your questions, by the way. How will this program enable its graduates to be more successful in the industry? We really did cover that in terms of trend, updating our curriculum, staying in you all connecting with the community, Camilo and Carlos, actively to see what's going on. So we ensure our curriculum informs those trends. Does this program open doors in the industry? I mean, we're a community here. When one finds out something, we're networking essentially. But can either of you speak to that? And then we'll wrap it
I
up
can
there.
talk a little bit about that too. I'm a big part and I'm a big fan of that word, community, right? And something that we're also trying to do, we have our program has already grown like crazy. We have a whole bunch of people. And now we have the online side of it also growing. And part of what we're trying to do is to keep both of those connected as much as possible. And something that comes from that is somebody maybe finds, you know, these awards that you can submit music to, and then you submit your award, and then maybe you get something you can fly to a place where, you know, you and your friend made some music and go receive an award or even just be part of the ceremony. And then all of these events that, you know, either get shared on the community or maybe awards that you can submit to, or all of these different things that you can be a part of will help you meet more people, find more people in the industry. And on top of that, you do have the circuit, the you know, the Frost School alumni that will automatically be friendlier and more open to kind of helping each other out. So you'll see both of those, but I personally really, really like that approach of everybody as a team having not the scarcity mentality, but the plentiful mentality that there's enough for everyone. And when you think there's enough for everyone, you get more and more people do more things and everybody does more work. And then, you know, high tide raises all ships kind of thing. I'm a big fan of that approach. So it does open doors in that sense.
I love that. And let's end it. Carlos, tell
Mhm.
us why our program, why us? And then Camilo, I'll ask you the same question. And then Rihanna, it's back to you.
Because of the experience, I think that we really have focused on making the best course experience possible, particularly for the online scenario that you're in. These can be very clinical where somebody's like, hi, and then you will move your cursor to the left. And that sort of thing was killing me watching some of the other videos that I've seen. And we wanted to make it as contemporary and as proactive. We were very proactive about making this content relevant, and we're very aware that we're going to, speaking of keeping up with trends, we're going to be updating it in some aspect on a yearly basis. You know, I also wanted to say something regarding the assets you get to work with in our program. We have a very specific thing that we were working on for a very long time with Netflix to have a relationship with it. What I've noticed is that a lot of people, when they're coming into this, in order to write something, they're like, well, grab something from the internet and put music on it. Well, that's not necessarily scoring. Sometimes you grab a scene that you want to add music to, but what people will do is that they'll mute it. You know, they'll mute the whole thing and put their music on it. That's not scoring. Scoring is a much more detailed thing where you're actually working with the sound landscape, meaning the dialogue and the sound design that's already there. You have to now add your music to that. And you can't just crash the party, you have to join the party. And one of the problems that we tend to have as students is having access to these assets. So we got into collaboration with Netflix, and now it's been like we're in our second year now of a partnership that is exclusive to our school, where they're giving us assets of of the shows that they're making. So we have Red Notice, which is a film with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and we have Stranger Things, the last season. We have scenes from that you get to score when you take the media scoring course, because and what's amazing is that the assets look great. It's like the actual scene with the dialogue separated and the sound design separated and the music separated, which as you get into, you realize you do have to separate them in order to work. And the reason is it's going to make you better going into the world, into the workforce, because you're going to be dealing with assets the way we deal with assets when we work on it. That's what they send you. So you have to put it in and line things up and get technically facile at it. So it's a really exciting thing to begun this collaboration, because you're not dealing with footage from the Phantom Menace, or something from a very long time ago that doesn't have music anyway, and here, do that. And it's like we're looking at relevant stories that are being told and made today by the greatest companies that are making them, being accessible to you. And I think that really does help elevate your experience.
So before I go to my point, I want to follow up on what Carlos just said. So going back to the troubleshooting thing, you download a YouTube video and the only thing that you can do is mute everything and then put your music on it. Like Carlos said, that's not really scoring. Let's do some troubleshooting. We have brand new AI tools that are good at separating stems. Have you tried them out? Download the YouTube video, put the video in the stem splitter and see if you get dialogue, effects, and music. Chances are you do. I haven't done it myself, but I can see that at least working with dialogue, where you can remove the sound, remove the music, and keep only the dialogue, and then you can do your own sound design with the real dialogue. Or you could do your own music if you already have the real dialogue and sound design. So a way to kind of do that is just, for your own practice, download a scene you like, try and figure out a way to split the stems, and then score it yourself. And that is part of that troubleshooting, because that is a brand new tool. There are no classes teaching you how to do that. So it is something you have to figure out, like from the bottom up, so to speak. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about, just, moving to the next point, is community and feedback. Those are like the two major things, the two I care the most about. And feedback not only from faculty, but from other students. And this is why I like that our program has grown, because more people in the program means there are more people for you to learn from, right? Ideally, you learn more from your colleagues than you learn from any one class, right? Either by just helping each other figure stuff out, or maybe one person's amazing with harmony and the other one's amazing with, form, whatever. Work together, learn from each other, teach each other, collaborate. And then most importantly, we expect you to submit all of your assignments, or at least the classes I'm in, to submit them publicly. When you finish your, your 30-second or your 1-minute piece or whatever it is, you post it on the forum, and then you get feedback publicly, which is what we do in class, right? And we want to replicate that. We want to keep that format of you getting feedback, not just from faculty, from everyone. And we expect you to be giving feedback to everyone else, because giving feedback is actually a skill, or like Polly said, it's a muscle. You got to work it. And the better, or the more you do it, the better you get at giving and receiving feedback, because it's really, really easy to receive feedback and just ignore it, saying, they're wrong, But if you have, a crowd of 20 and 18 of them said the voice is too loud, probably the voice is too loud. So it's something to kind of keep in mind. Feedback is a huge part of that. And to truly get good feedback, you need a good community of people that care about each other honestly, instead of trying to tear each other down.
Camilo, Carlos, thank you for being with us. Rayana, take us out.
Absolutely. Thank you for all of your points, everyone. So, just wanted to stress that again, we're not just here for you to come and get a degree. We want to make sure that you're thriving both academically and career wise. We have, as students, you guys will have access to our Topple Career Center to build those career skills throughout your time in the program and afterwards. We also have accessibility services, online library, and then communities that are specifically tailored towards graduate students to connect with those who are in different disciplines and those online and in person as well. So just also stressing some of the things that you will need. I saw a question about that in the Q&A. We would need a unofficial transcript to get your admissions decision. We will at some point need an official, but that won't happen until after you are accepted. 2 letters of recommendations from faculty or someone who knows you well and can speak to your work. If you're planning to use any kind of financial aid, you'll want to fill out your FAFSA and a resume, personal statement. Again, Camilo mentioned some of the things that may be spoken to in your personal statement, and then a physical online application. So you may be wondering, when is all of this due? So we do have an early admission deadline. It is Monday, November 4th. Spots are filling up so quickly, so we want to make sure that you secure that spot. We are offering a waiver for the $300 deposit, and a 50% tuition waiver all up until the final deadline on December 9th. But we want to make sure that you secure that spot as the spots are filling up. If you have any questions that come up after you get off of this Zoom call, we're happy to answer them. Just give us a call at this number, or you can also chat with us. We're happy to speak with you. You can also scan that QR code on your screen. It'll bring you right to the application. That way you can get started. But aside from that, again, thank you, Camilo and Carlos and Andrea, for joining us and sharing your wonderful perspectives. And we hope to see each and every one of you here and to learn about your journeys. All right, y'all. Bye.